everyone. My name is Sommer Hill, and I am the Senior Social Media Associate for NPR Extra. Today, I am here with Rachel Martin, the host of Enlighten Me. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Summer.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about this series?
It is, for me, a way to tackle the most existential questions. You know, I've spent more than 20 years in news and have covered all kinds of grim stuff. Wars, recessions, shootings, opioid crisis, you know, you name it. And to be perfectly honest, I needed to step away from those stories, and I needed to kind of focus on different kinds of questions, fundamental questions about why we're here, what happens after we die, like how do we navigate our way through life.
That brings me to my next question. Like, obviously, it's our own curiousness that drives us to ask these certain questions. So what in particular are you searching for? Is there something that you need to know yourself?
Yeah, this is like the ultimate
The
question.
age-old
Because
question.
I'm really interested in trying to figure out to what degree people actually quietly or maybe out loud apply religious and spiritual principles to how they live their life.
Okay.
Because people don't talk outwardly a lot
Right.
about that part of themselves. I lost both my parents. My mom died a long time ago now, and my dad died like a year and a half ago.
Oh my gosh.
And so I bring that up because they were the people in my life who built my kind of spiritual scaffolding. And then it's sort of up to you as the kid to like do your own investigating and
Right.
blow the house down or build it up, you know? And I just never did the work to fill it in any way. I just sort of leaned on them whenever I felt like I needed a dose of like spiritual nourishment. You know, I kind of leaned on my own parents' traditions to give that to me. And then when they're gone, you're sort of looking around and casting about, and nothing really made sense to me anymore at like a deeply spiritual level. And so that is partly why I wanted to do this as well, is like, I think this happens to a lot of people.
Where are you now in your spiritual journey? Like we've heard your interviews with all these people, and they explain exactly where they're at and where they're going and how they got there. Where are you?
Yeah, so the breaking news, the end of this whole thing is that we create our own meaning. It's like realizing that everything's imperfect. Nothing will ever be like the end all be all.
Right.
But really trying to figure out what it is that is a priority, what is ultimately important. And I'm still trying to sort through that. But also an outward expression. Like, what am I doing with that knowledge? What? Now that I feel like all zenned out after my meditation, what do I do in the world with that?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when I think about like you doing meditation and like how do you present that to the world, I think about like the energy that you give off after you do meditate. You know, it's probably really calming, and we may need that in the room at the moment. Yeah.
Something as small as that.
But I was listening to your interview with Dr. Roland Griffiths, and he talked about the power to speak up, and he was like speaking to his cancer, and he had that conversation with his cancer. I want to know, what in you would you speak to? And what would you say?
Oh, if I was like on some crazy psychedelic trip?
Sure.
Oh, God. Good question, Summer.
Thank you.
I think I would talk to my parents. You know, I think I would like say things that I didn't think to say, because you're never really ready, and then when those people aren't in your life anymore, you know, they're just questions I have about like raising kids, things that I wish I could ask my parents now, or things that I know I screwed up on and want to apologize for. So that's probably what I do if I went on.
Do you feel like you can still talk to them, or do you feel like it's...
Well, that's interesting. I mean, praying is not a thing I do. But I was in another conversation with someone, this guy named Jeff Hiller, who's an actor on Somebody Somewhere. And when we were sort of talking about praying, he said, I don't really pray, but I do talk to my mom. His mom died not too long ago. And it's not like I sit there and I'm like, hey, Mom, what's up?
Right.
But I conjure her, you know, and I think about what she would do in different circumstances, or, and with my dad too. And so that's like a way to remember them and, you know, try to imagine the answers that they would give me to the questions that I'm posing. But that's probably as close as I get to like praying.
What has been your biggest aha moment or wow moment through these conversations you've been having?
I had a conversation with this author named Catherine May, and she's this really beautiful writer. She basically told me in the end the revelation that has happened to her, which is that people who are out there, myself included, who are trying to like search for meaning in places. What does it all mean? Why are we here? What are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. There are no answers. Like, we have to be comfortable in the questioning and to get solace from the fact that we create our own meaning. And we have the power to do that. You don't have to look to some external force. Like, maybe you believe in a God, maybe you believe in some kind of divine plan that governs your life, or maybe you just create sacredness as you walk around the world yourself, and you have the ability to do that. Like you and I talking right now, that's like a sacred thing. Not to be all cheesy, but like,
it really is.
I didn't know you.
Yeah.
I didn't know you till
An
like
hour ago.
An hour ago. And now here we are talking, and I'm like sharing the stuff, and
Right.
you're asking me, and we're having like this genuine exchange. Sort of why I went into journalism in the first place. It was never to like do the big breaking news story, if I'm being honest. I was a sucker for that exchange of intimacy, and that's like a really sacred thing. So when you decide to recognize that in interactions you have with strangers and just people in your life, to really listen to people and be present and just decide for yourself, like the walk I'm taking down the street, I'm gonna make that a sacred experience.
Yeah. So what are some concepts you still want to explore?
Like, I think there's more to be looked at when it comes to how people and cultures for a very long time have used medicines and psychedelics as an expression of their belief system, their cosmology, their religious system. I'm super interested in that. I'm really interested in forgiveness as just an idea and how hard it can be to do that sometimes. I'm like endlessly interested in death. I think that experience of transitioning is like such a beautiful and sacred experience, and I think we don't really talk enough about it.
It's so taboo, but it's like it's the only thing that's definite in this life. The only.
Right.
So who is your dream guest?
I wish I had better answers for this question, but what I really want this show to be is not necessarily like, oh, big fancy celebrity talking. Like, I definitely want to talk to Mahershala Ali.
Yes.
I just think he's amazing, and he's a very religious person, and he's religious in Hollywood, which is really interesting to me. So yes, there's like big celebrities I want to talk to, but I just want to talk to people who get it, and will be honest and make themselves vulnerable, and that can be anyone.
Yeah.
You know, that can be anyone.
And that's, I'm sure you've experienced within journalism, especially being a White House correspondent, that most of the time when we talk to people, they have a script. Like, they already know what they want to say. They already have the agenda they want to push. But I find with these kind of conversations, they kind of just flow, and you can really get the essence of someone and what they live by. Yeah. So finally, I want you to enlighten me. Leave me with some words. What are some things I can think about?
I don't know if I've gleaned enough wisdom to be the teacher at this point. I don't know. I think it's more of what I've already said. It's like we are each more in control than we think we are. And I need to take more responsibility for myself in answering these questions. And I think it's sort of a cop-out to try to endlessly look for something and just be dissatisfied that you can't find the answer, and then just like swim around in your spiritual angst. Like, get over yourself, you know? Like, I'm already sort of over myself. Like, learn something and apply it and move on, right? We can imbue meaning into our lives. That means it's on me to like read more, seek out people who are different than I am and have come up with different answers for these questions. And then like live it out, you know? So I think what do I enlighten you with is just that you have the power, you know? You have more answers to the questions than you realize. It is already in you. And you just kind of have to be comfortable in that power.
Well, thank you so much for being here and answering these questions today. When does the show come out? How can we listen?
So right now it's on Weekend All Things Considered.
Okay.
It's the last segment in that show. So it's usually like 5:45 on Sundays.
Okay.
And then we'll see what the future holds.
Okay. Everywhere you get your podcast. Thank you so much, Rachel. This was great.
Thank you,
appreciate
Summer.
it.
It's great to talk to you.
Thanks. Cut.